This video in this series will be about ASIO applications. Applications that can have the ability to choose an ASIO driver. And that ASIO driver that we will choose is called Jackrouter. So I have a straight key that has an ASIO driver and a MIDI input. So that's the straight key. We've got paddles, a paddle software called Dahdidah that has ASIO driver and is using a serial port input, a USB to serial port adapter, and we have a ASIO keyboard. So all those will install right in here so you can see them and wire them up. We have external sound cards coming in through VoiceMeeter, which is using the Jackrouter ASIO driver. So my USB mic's here. The line in from a rig is right there. And desktop audio on my computer is right here. We also have Mixxx performing a QSO practice function that has an ASIO driver. And we select Jackrouter in Mixxx and it comes up right in here so we can wire it up. And for the Mumble input and output, we're using another ASIO application called ASIO BRIDGE. This takes the audio inside Jackrouter and brings a virtual cable called the hi-fi cable and brings it in right here so we can hear it. And it also is listening inside Jackrouter to anything that comes into these two ports. And then that sends it out on the other part of this virtual audio cable, the hi-fi cable. And that's where Mumble is listening. So Mumble is listening on the hi-fi cable output, and Mumble output comes to the hi-fi cable input. So that's how we're getting and routing audio from and into Mumble. So we already have something playing here. We'll come back to that in just a second. So we have all these ASIO apps inside this ASIO connection bay. We're using this Reaper just to route the audio so that we can hear it. We're using this second Reaper as a recording device so that we can take Mumble output and Mumble input, put in two tracks so that we can hear the Mumble in and the Mumble out, keep those separated so we can balance them. We can apply some plugins to keep the volume steady, and we can do the recording. You just hit this record button right there. I'll come back to this recorder in just a second. Let's take a look at this Reaper. This is our main mixing console. So we have the line in. So we got some audio coming in from a rig. We're using this shifter. Since I can't reach the controls, I just have it coming out here and I have it wideband so I can catch a few. Spectrum analyzer, and this is the M equalizer. This is how we can bring up the volume, and we have a couple of filters, notch filters before and after the center frequency. Can get an idea what the center frequency is here, around 700 something. So right about there, brought it in. So we can take this down a little bit. Very helpful. And get a little bit of an idea what depends on how the signal to noise ratio is. These are just some examples of some great plugins that work. So that's where the audio comes in. So we'll turn that off right now. And this is my microphone. We have one plugin called the Vola-ex, which is a very nice plugin. This is desktop audio.
And JVC has the same thing.
If you wanted to listen just for yourself or send it to Mumble input, Here's the plugin I was talking about for this processing of my voice. And I find it to work pretty well, and it's a free plugin that goes right into Reaper. Very useful. And the desktop audio is coming in because we've chosen the VoiceMeeter virtual sound card, the VoiceMeeter input. Here's the hi-fi cable input for the ASIO bridge. And I have all audio cards. It's helpful to keep them all at the same bit rate and sample rate. So things, when you have this many apps going, it's good that they all have the same settings for that. So let me get out of here. So all these buttons here are also down here on the mixer sliders. So let's bring Mumble up. We'll turn it on. And we have this Mumble out. Let me turn it down a little bit. So we have this on the input. I'll go over that in a second. Get that down. Okay. So I have a volume stabilizer for the Mumble input that's coming into my Mumble. So everybody else that's sending will come to this first plugin and get stabilized to -12. Then we have a gate to help stabilize it further. It also takes a very soft signal and can make it just a little bit, take some of the rise time off of it. So if you had an 8 or 10 millisecond rise or fall time, you could use this to trim it down. Or if it was really light, you could increase it by doing this, and it'll make it heavier. It's kind of a compensation control. We can look at the waveform of the receiving signal coming out of Mumble. We have a bandpass filter and a spectrum analyzer. So here's what it looks like without it. And you can see some of those spikes here and some of the low frequency components. So we put the filter in, smooths it right out. And that's for everything coming in. Now I have an optional plugin set to the left here, and I have it off. So let's turn it on. And this is a regenerator plugin set. So again, I'm using another Loudmax for the same reason. We have that produces a very stable threshold. So we go above, you don't hear it. And you can set this. That's kind of just standard. You can go up a little bit, make it sometimes just a little bit lighter, but you can also go down and make it heavier if you like. Very adjustable. Now this regate is using MIDI. It sends a MIDI note out to this synthesizer, sine wave synthesizer, that's set to 3 milliseconds rise, which they call attack, and 3 milliseconds fall time, which they call release. Then it goes to this bandpass filter, 6-pole bandpass filter with these settings. That's what it looks like on the Skope. That's what it looks like on the meter here. So we can change the tuning, which is very nice. If you like a certain pitch over Mumble and everybody's using a different pitch and a different quality of side tone, you can make it all exactly the same and just about to your perfect preference by using this setup. And it's optional, so we can turn it off with that button right there. Turn it all the way down. And so we can adjust this. And then we have the straight key, desktop audio. On the desktop audio, we can do a similar function. We have, let's see if this is going to work here. So I have a QRQ trainer. This is an excellent training program. And if you wanted to give some QRQ lessons on a Mumble channel at a certain time or regular schedule, you could do it this way. You could also keep some plugins going and do a similar thing. You could regenerate it or just do the bandpass. Because I'm using desktop audio, this application defaults to the desktop audio. You can turn on and off. So if I wanted to turn on plugins that I just set for QRQ, and I'll set that up real quick here. It's just a general, do note 77. So no matter what the pitch is you have in QRQ, it's going to come out around 700 hertz. Let's see what happens here. And let's turn it on. Get that button on, then we'll do it again. So we'll take that up. And again, you just go through the same thing. Go to the resynth. Right there. Kick that in. 3. Change that to 3. I'll leave it right there for now. So 3 and 3. There's the regate. Now you'll hear both if you don't take this slider right here down. So that turns that off. Let's see if we get anything. And now we've regenerated it. And you can clean that up with a filter. And regate has its own Apple 12-pole filter. And you just set it up like this. Pick your poles. Bring it up to about 500, 1K. There you go. It sounds pretty good. And QRQ has a function for F6. Very nice. So you can keep playing it. You can also slow it down and speed it up. And see how, see if you can, if you're able to do that. And you can slow it down and then keep repeating F6 to get it, then speed it back up to where it was, and then move to the next word by hitting enter. So that's another idea. The same thing for Mixxx. Turn that down a little bit. We'll turn the thing on. And again, you hit A. Go backwards. Keep going over a word until you get it. It's a very good practicing tool for QRQ practice. So I think that pretty much covers most of it. Let's take a look at these ASIO meters on the right. We have the Mumble in. And we have everything that comes to the desktop, and so we can kind of get a general idea. And this is for the Mumble output, so we have a Mumble channel coming in. Even though we have it muted, it's still connected to that hi-fi cable. And anything that's coming out of Mumble will put audio right there and kind of get a general reading. For the CW keyboard, all you need to do is click your mouse on it, and you don't have to worry about it unless you have to click on something else. Well, here's the basic setup that kind of works pretty well. Let's get everything on here. So once you've focused on softCW, you can use the keyboard. You can also go right to the paddles, right to the straight key. And you don't even have to worry about anything. Just go right back to your keyboard to type, and you're still focused on softCW. So this operates as an ASIO device and a keyboard, and all you do is have to make sure that the mouse clicks. If I went over here to type a text message, then I'd have to re-click this before it would send again. You hit F2 on this application, and that's how I set the right amount of volume to go into Mumble in. Frequency, rise and fall time, weight. This is a general weight, so this is about average. 1 is a little bit lighter. If you had the number 3, it would be a little bit heavier, and there's the words per minute. And you can set that. But it's nice to have a very simple software CW keyboard with ASIO support, so that it'll work in Jackrouter. And I think that's just about it. Our MIDI straight key is using audio to MIDI from the mic jack from a 555 to here. Same setup as before with the other regenerators. We have a threshold, and we have it sending out any MIDI note, and that we send this MIDI note out to a virtual loopback cable. We're using loop MIDI port 2, and that's where EhoCW is listening. And it's the only software CW app that has MIDI input. Now if you had an actual MIDI device, say an Arduino with a MIDI note output, you can plug your key into that. When you hit the key, it sends a MIDI note out, and it goes through your USB to MIDI, or MIDI to USB, and goes to your computer. And would probably come into the system here is number 8 on either side. But all you have to do is tell EhoCW, once you find the name of it, to listen to that MIDI cable and not this virtual one. So you'll have a real MIDI device to listen to, the MIDI input device. We have an auxiliary testing setup because I'm using a virtual keyboard, and it's using the same MIDI cable. And EhoCW doesn't care what MIDI note it is, whether it's 1 or 128. That's just to test it, and that's a very nice feature of that. So there's a lot of parts to this, but they all work well together in this ASIO system, using Jackrouter and the Jack Audio for Windows. And Reaper really helps to keep everything available so that you can adjust the volumes to where you want to hear it, and yet you've already preset the volumes so that they always remain the same to the Mumble input. The Mumble output and any other audio you can adjust yourself without worrying about what goes into Mumble in. And that's just the basic setup. I think we've covered pretty much everything. There'll be some notes in the below in the video, the show notes, and they'll have some links there for you if you're interested in any one of these apps that you've seen. The meter here is just for the Mumble output. So let me open that up real quick here. So that kind of gives us an idea. If I'm not hearing anything and yet I'm seeing these meters, I'm saying, well, I got one of these volume controls somewhere. So just another way to keep an eye on what's happening with a setup like this. Thank you for watching.